want to tell you that I am holy. Not at all. I'm not Mother Teresa. My husband always says, no, you are her sister. You know? But when we were coming here to the Dominican Republic, and we had to make sure that somebody's taking care of the boiler, that nothing freezes during the winter, we rented out our apartment to Germans. Not once, a few times. And in fact, one man came in and he looked around in the house, and the impression, he says, oh, you have a microwave.
Oh.
It struck me funny, of all the things that were there, that's what impressed him.
Wow.
But we rented it out to them, and we kept in touch. And when I came back, they were still there. We had lunch together. I believe in peace. If you can't accomplish anything with war, you have to accomplish it with peace.
That's beautiful said.
But that's what it is. And I tell you something else. I had a cousin, through marriage, that she came to visit here from the States. And my husband was in Constanza because we did business here. And we were sitting and having coffee, and the bell rang. And a man came in, and he lived across right here next door. And he says, I need a favor. Okay. Could you translate something for me from German to English? I said, sure. I says, come inside. We had coffee. I said, sit down, have a cup of coffee. I don't know who the man is. And I translated for him. And he sat down there. This is a story that you will not believe, because I can't even believe it. And we're talking, you know, he is here, he's working.
He's the son of one of the guards.
No. And I translated, and he had the coffee. And out of nowhere, with no discussion, nothing, he says, you know, my father was a Nazi. My cousin looked at me, and I looked at her, like, what's going on, right?
So you're helping out the son of a Nazi?
Yeah, but we didn't even know. I don't know why the man even said it. We figured it out later. So then...
He felt badly, probably, because he knows your story.
I don't know. I really don't know. To make the story short, we sat and we ate and drank, and I gave him all the information. He went out. My cousin says, how could you do that? I says, Marilla, that was her name, Marilla. First of all, did I send for the man? No. How he knows that who I am, what I am, I don't know either. I don't. But when came to ask for a favor, I did a favor. Okay. About 4 or 5 days later, he knocks at the door again. I let him in. And my cousin let me have it, like you have no idea. How could you let him in again? Look, Marilla, I said, you think your way and I think my way. In fact, I don't even think. I just do. I said, the man came in. Why did he say his father was a Nazi? And she asked him, how old were you? He said, 14.
You were the same age?
Yes.
Almost.
Yes. So I said, well, maybe he felt guilty. Or maybe he wanted to unload his conscience. Maybe he wanted to get it off his chest. Otherwise, why would he say that? But she could never get over it, and I'm letting him in again.
I have a question. Why do you speak so freely about it? Doesn't cost you? Why do you speak so freely, so openly about years of torture? Doesn't it cost you? How come do you survive something that bad and still want to speak about it? Because this is a strength I have seldomly seen, and actually it's so beautiful, so it's incredible to be able to pass your story to all the generations, to the Dominican public, maybe abroad through the YouTube channel. But how come you have the strength to speak about something that has hurt on you so many years ago and for so much time.
Okay. Let me put it this way. In the beginning, a lot of people, my friends or also people from the camps, talked about it right away. We did not. We did not, my husband and I. And let me put it this way. First of all, we were too hurt. Second of all, we came to the States and we were trying to make a new life for ourselves. So we didn't much talk about it because what is there to say that we don't know? Even amongst our friends or relatives, we never brought up the subject because each one went through more or less the same thing. So we were trying not to hide it or forget it. Just let's go on with life. That's the first thing.
Let's move on.
Not only that, and the second thing, remember, we had nobody to give us a hand, meaning no parents, no sisters, no brothers to help us out. We had to do everything ourselves to make ourselves a new life, right? And we did. We tried right away to become Americanized, to learn the language right away, whatever we could, to blend in to this society that we were in, right? Now, when we were in business and all that, we didn't speak too well of English, but like I do talk now, Spanish, I get along. You understand? Okay. However, when the children were born, we never spoke to them about our experiences. Never. And the reason, right? You ask why? Because, first of all, we were trying to forget. Second of all, we were busy with our daily lives. We had nothing when we came here. I came with torn stockings in December. You understand?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the second. We had to earn a living. Most of all, we did not want to bring hatred into our children's heart. I also want to tell you that my first, interview I gave was for the Holocaust for Spielberg. I did make a tape in 1972, I believe, because at that point I was still not ready to talk about it. And then a few years ago, I gave another interview in British Columbia, in Victoria, so they have that in the archives too. And I spoke several times at Carol Morgan School that they invited me to speak. And so at the first time I said, what am I going to say? How am I going to start? And my son said, Mom, don't you know the story by now? I said, yes. So just keep on talking. And the latest one that I had at Carol Morgan, the students were wonderful. They were between 15 and 16. And one student was Chinese. He came over, here in the Dominican Republic. And he says, I know what a Holocaust is. My family also went through a Holocaust. And then there was one boy who came over and he says, I am part Jewish and part German. And I understand, and I feel very bad about it. I said, you didn't do anything to cause it.
No, of course not.
But it was a nice experience, when these kids came forward.
But I mean, I admire your strength, your willingness, and your positive attitude, despite and thanks to these atrocities you have lived.
You do the best you can. You have to understand one thing. You cannot lose faith in humanity, because there will be bad people and good people. It's been in the world is in existence. So why should we go for the... And it's easier to be positive than to be negative. Because when you're negative, you'll find everything that's negative. The littlest thing, it'll bother you. You're not accomplishing anything, you're hurting yourself most of all, because you're not happy. And you have to let sunshine in your life. We all have tragedies. This was a mass tragedy, yes. It was not we didn't cause it, yes. But what can you do? When you're going to look back in the ancient times, weren't there atrocities? I read the Bible every once in a while. And when I come to the point when they're talking about the kings, I stop. Okay? So, whether it's Hitler or Mussolini or whoever, they had very good teachers. Right?
Definitely. Yes.
Definitely. And these
All the
atrocities,
atrocities were already made.
of
in
course,
time.
and these atrocities is more and more and more. And when you finally feel that something is wrong in this world, is when it finally hits you. Otherwise, everybody talks and nobody does anything. Until it hits you directly, personally,
Then you feel something is
then
bad.
you feel it. That's the way it is.
Tell me how a young woman coming into the United States with nothing, with not even the knowledge of the language, falls in love still after so many atrocities. How do you meet your husband and how do you make this family? I say that because I know that in Germany there is a whole generation lacking because the Germans didn't feel themselves good enough to have families anymore.
Yes, I understand.
So how do you, as a young woman that has lived so many atrocities, say, okay, you know what? Let's take
Let's
this
start
bet.
again.
Let's start again and trust this man.
Yes, but I met my husband right after the war in Germany.
In Germany already.
In Germany, yes. And we weren't lovers or anything. We knew each other because, first of all, even after the war in camps, we were all bunched together. I met people from Hungary, from Czechoslovakia, from here, from there. You understand? But my husband and I, we liked each other. I had other boyfriends too. You know what I mean? They liked me, I liked them, fine. But we clicked together and we decided that we'll be a night, and we weren't talking even about marriage yet. And I think that being that we liked each other, the feeling, you sort of feel at least you have somebody. I think that was most of my friends, because I had a friend of mine, she passed, and she always said, if it wasn't for the war, we probably would not be married to the same people that we are now. And she was right. And
In what sense?
And in
who
what
would you
sense?
have married then?
I'll tell you why. Because you take me, I come from an Orthodox family, a Jewish Orthodox family. My husband did not come from an Orthodox family. I mean, he himself, maybe the grandparents and all that were all Orthodox. But he himself, he didn't even know he was Jewish.
Okay.
He had all Polish friends. His name was Józef. He spoke Polish better than a native. I speak well, but he spoke.
You speak very well.
I thank you, but he, no accent whatsoever, So he was like a Pole. He really was. All his friends were Polish. We visited him after the war, and we still keep in touch. You understand?
So why did he was in the concentration camp then?
Yeah, he was
Why?
also. Well, because, if you went the 10th generation that you have a prababka or prajada, you were still Jewish.
Okay, so they went 10 generation before.
Yes, but my point is, if I were to be a normal life, my family wouldn't let me to marry my husband because he did not believe in this and he was not kosher and all that. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So in most of our friends, the same thing. We were bunched together. We were looking to be together. And like I said, if it went for normal, most of us would not be married to the same people. As it is, we were all, most of us, happy. But by choice, we would not do that. And it's not just me. The same cousin I was talking to you about, her husband was his father, pious Jews. They had no kosher, no nothing. Do you understand? And so many in our instances. But we made a go of it. Basically, we had the same values, justice and fairness and love. You understand? And again, you say a young woman, you come to the United States. I came to the United States because I was on the American zone, so I registered. And by the way, you could even put this in your video too. That's the way it is. I had a choice to go to Israel. I did. I knew the language.
You knew?
Yes, I know Hebrew. You know, as a kid, I was studying, of course. I had a choice to go, and I said, I'm not going. And why? I'm a very good Jew. I am. Most of it, I'm a good human. You understand? I pride myself on that. But I was saying like this, I just finished one war. Am I going into another war now?
True.
And that's the reason that I didn't go. Remember, Israel in 1945 was not like today. You couldn't get in there. It was still not Israel. It was Palestine. You had to go by Cyprus and here and there for months and months and months to get in there illegally. Was I looking for that?
No, of course not.
And that's the reason I didn't go. But I came to the United States because I was underage, and I guess the agencies were always trying to get the youth out first to start a new life.